So the last time I gave a presentation here in this hotel, it was the very first time I presented on artificial intelligence. And so it's amazing to be back here doing a PechaKucha, which is a little bit faster. So I'm Tahnee Perry. I'm the founder of AI agency A25, and I'm going to do something a little bit different in this PechaKucha and talk about weird brains and how weird brains are perfect for the age of AI. So I grew up as an oddball, and so I really felt like I had to research this idea of being different. And when I grew up, being different wasn't so great, but there's a power to being different. And unconventional thinkers are thriving in today's age. Creativity beats credentials, and weird brains build more resilient teams. When I grew up in Australia, sports, beer, and blending in were the way to go. Any Australians in the room? No? Okay. Well, if you were too loud or too ambitious or you were just a little bit weird, people noticed, and not in a good way. And I carried this through my entire life. I was the oddball. I was the one who was creating Meccano sets and reading sci-fi when my peers were out playing sports and drinking beer. And when I entered the workforce, I was always still a little bit strange. And I think my coworkers and managers noticed that. And the tipping point came when I was running a campaign, and I found the data suggested that a single message worked better than a multi-message. And the CMO said to me, "That's a stupid idea. That's not how we do things." And I realized that it was time to move on, and I had to think about things differently. And so I went on this journey of figuring out what is unconventional thinking and what does it mean. And to me, it's a willingness to question assumptions and test what hasn't been done before, even if it makes people uncomfortable, like that CMO who tried to put me in my place. And history is littered with people who are unconventional thinkers, and I have a couple of examples here of people I've admired. Ada Lovelace, who is, I guess, she invented the concept of computer programming, but in the 1800s. She imagined machines composing music long before computers even existed. James Dyson, he came up with 5,127 prototypes before he decided on the first Dyson vacuum cleaner. And what he did was he changed the way we think about iterative design. And then finally, Ken Robinson, who is a thought leader in the education space, he goes around and he talks about how schools currently, if they're built traditionally, kill creativity instead of fostering it. And so he sparked this global movement to embrace diversity of thinking. So now I've shown you reasons why you should embrace your weird brain or your unconventional side. So how do you actually do it? And I've got 3 things for you. The first is challenge the status quo. Don't accept that's how we do it. You should ask why, what if? Every rule started as someone's best guess, and so your guess might be better. Number 2 is focus on the possibilities. Instead of seeing barriers, ask what's possible. When you reframe problems as puzzles, you start spotting patterns that others miss. And we just heard about how patterns are really important in marketing. And number 3, just pause for effect here. View failure as a tool. Failure isn't a verdict, it's information. And I know sometimes we hate failing because it doesn't feel great. But if you change the way you think about failure and you take it in as information, you won't fear those mistakes. You will use them in your next experiment. You will use them to get better. And it's this thinking that really helps you in this age of AI, where there is no rule book. There is no instruction manual. So people who are open, flexible, and question results are the ones that are going to have a much better time working with AI. And I'm getting a couple of nods here. I have some unconventional thinkers in the room. So again, 3 things for you to succeed. The first is develop a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset. So if you feel like you're saying, if you find yourself saying, I'm not good at this, or your team is saying, I'm not good at this, change that to, I don't get it just yet. That shift separates frustration from exploration. The second is normalize mistakes. I think we heard earlier, have some grace for your people who are experimenting with AI. And don't say, I suck at this, or don't let your team say that. Say, interesting, that didn't work. What can I tweak? Experiment. Think of this as a playground. And 3, praise the process, not just the outcome. I think this is really important because we have a tendency to be like, great job, that worked out so well. I really love that result. But that allows people to focus on that final thing and not the entire process. So instead of saying, that's a smart result, say, I like how you kept testing different angles here. And if you do this, the weird brains will thrive. Your team will thrive. Because weird brains thrive in change, and they create the space for others to do the same. And as modern leaders, I think it's our job to model curiosity instead of control, and to encourage one of my favorites, ooh, this is way louder. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers. They're not fond of rules, and while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the ones that are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. Thank you.